Okay. Get the pencil out. The right size so it's not fucking huge. Maybe about 5? That's fine. Oh, slightly off. That's better. Yeah, it's slightly getting cut off, but oh well. I don't like that Ryer. So, fucking world of Tears of the Kingdom. It's the world of Breath of the Wild, and they changed a couple things. Ultimately, I think the sky has some neat stuff in it. The big ball that was in the sky was kind of neat. They just put more labyrinths in the sky, which they're labyrinths. I don't know. Let me see. Point of interest. Yeah, like you have your intro in the sky, you have the giant ball, you have a couple of unique things around the sky. You have some of your temples up there. You have the little diving challenges. Like, the sky is very supplementary to the main world. The depths are a little more substantial, but at the same time, they don't have that much in them. You've got refights with the temple bosses, you have some colosseums, which unfortunately I found the most interesting one first, because it has, like, 7 Lionels in it. And that as a challenge to throw the players really funny. I like that. But outside of that, you end up with a lot of not much really happening in the depths. You're gonna find bombs, you're gonna find puff shrooms, you're gonna find muddle buds, you're gonna find little fireflies, you're gonna find mining camps, you're gonna find the abandoned mines, Yiga camps, some enemies, and then the massive pile of light roots. I do like the light roots as far as ways to find shrines go. I thought that was quite neat. Because, you know, it's real easy to explore the underground, find light roots, and just go, okay, that's where I need to find shrines. And then you can kind of focus your exploration on the surface to those spots, which when you combine it with the shrine sensor makes it pretty easy to find a lot of the shrines. It'd really just be the ones in the sky you'd have to look for, and even then. Those really aren't that much. It's not that big a deal. The surface is probably the weakest bit, because there really isn't much that changes. Let's see, the mountains are basically the same. Tabantha Plateau, or whatever it's called, hasn't really changed much. Bird Place is the same. The giant crevice is the same. The woods is the same. The mountains, basically the same. Like, you end up with a lot of just minor changes to things. Stuff's falling down from the sky. So a lot of it just feels like a lot of pointless reuse. The desert is probably the one... Well, I mean, the desert feels different, but it's also just, hey, you can't see anything, which wasn't that big a change. I don't remember what the Bird Place's fucking mechanic was. Eldin was the same? Linearu felt different just because of the gross water, but, like, that's not changing the environment much. So, like, I do still think the world is really good. There's a lot to do, there's a lot to explore, there's a lot to see, but I also think there is a lot of fatigue that comes from from saying to the player, hey, you want to explore the same thing again. I'm trying to think if I want to talk about other stuff. The gameplay more? I'll talk about that gameplay. So, like... Ugh, need some drink. Lovely. Yeah, like, it's still a great place to explore. I don't know. I think that's fine. Story. I think it is a bit of a mess, as time travel shit always is. Just because... The problem I have with it is I don't know if it's like a predestination thing, but it doesn't sound like it is. Hold on, I need to check something. I thought the game crashed. How big is this? 2900 by 3400. Okay, so there's the Zonai descending. There's Rauru and Sonya marrying. There's Sonya fucking dying. There's them fighting that. So that would be Dorito, the Zora, the Gerudo, you. Okay, so Zelda does show up in the past murals, which makes me think that it is a predestination thing. And what I mean is, like, let's say you have the timeline of Hyrule. You have the ancient history, where Zelda travels back to, and then you have the present. Time's going along. We hit the ancient past. Zelda appears out of nowhere, she gets the sword, and she does everything in the past, and they have the imprisoning war and everything. And then she lives all that time as a dragon. A dragon that we never see in Breath of the Wild, so presumably it's up in fucking space, or something. So then we get to here, the present. Breath of the Wild happens. 5 to 7 years later, Tears of the Kingdom begins. They're exploring underneath Hyrule Castle. They find Ganondorf. Ganondorf rocks both of their shit, Link and Zelda. Link gets his arm fucked with. Zelda gets sent back in time by her sacred power. And that allows all of the shit here to happen, for her to then live out later. So, that means at some point, there were 2 Zeldas. Because there had to be. Because the dragon still existed. Like, let's say Breath of the Wild happens right here. The dragon still existed during Breath of the Wild. It might have just been in the fucking stratosphere. And it also had the Master Sword. So there was 2 Master Swords at one point in fucking time. And this is why it fucks with my head. Because I don't think Nintendo thought this shit through this much. I just do it for the series, I do Raishai. Why did I say Raishai? That's Mr. Raishai 02. I only do it for a series, not just individual games. But yeah, like, that's fucking with my head, of just... Zelda exists before she was born because she gets sent back in time, so she sets the events into motion that create her birth. And then, like... I don't know. You like when your full name is used? I'm gonna break out your, like, online government name. Mr. Rai Gucci Highwaters Shy 02. But yeah, I do think the story is more complex, which I like that they tried, because Breath of the Wild was a pile of shit. 9 times out of 10 you ignore the story in that game. And they actually put an ending in this game. And, like, all the problems I have with Tears of the Kingdom, all the problems I have with the story, I can put aside for a moment and enjoy an actual fucking ending. And I liked it. I liked like going into Hyrule Castle and just the ambiance, the fucking music, the design, it's all so fucking good. And then you get to Ganondorf and you beat his ass. And then you turn into the dragon and it's an actual fight. It's not just ride around on a horse and shoot these tiny little spots. It's like, dodge the attacks, dodge Ganondorf, dodge the fucking dragon. Get picked up by Zelda. There's mechanics to it. There's gameplay. It's not that interesting. It is still effectively just fly around and shoot things, but you can get hit. And the fact that that is an improvement is depressing to me, but still, it's an improvement. So, like, I don't know, I don't think that the story is fucking amazing. I should keep track of what I actually rate other games, so that I can have some kind of consistency, but fuck that. That would take effort. So, I don't know. I want to know what I gave Breath of the Wild, because I gotta give it, like, 2 higher than that. But, like, say 7 out of 10. It's pretty decent. Characters, Yunobo's still a goofball. Sidon is still the GOAT. Even if he is marrying someone else, that bitch. I'm trying to remember the Gerudo lady's name, which I think is a sign of what I think of her. She's basically a child with lightning powers. I don't know. And the bird was a bird. His ghost was useful. I don't know. Otherwise, I mean, the Yiga are still the Yiga. Pura becoming hot is neat. Haya becoming even hotter is a choice. Other than that, I don't know, there's Zelda characters. Like, I do think the Zonai are neat. Yeah, I don't know. They're like, they are characters. Ganondorf is Ganondorf. He's neat. He's a samurai this time. I don't know why. Gameplay. Time to speak for a fucking hour. So, just... It's sad that I miss the simplicity of Breath of the Wild. But I do think a lot of it is fatigue from Breath of the Wild. Because at the very core of it, this game is about exploring. And you still have the same world that's great to explore. But I explored Breath of the Wild for 100 or something hours with a motorbike. There's no motorbike. They took it away. Give me my motorbike back. And, like, I did mod the game to give myself extra speed, because I'm not running around the same fucking world again at the same fucking speed. I'd like to go a little bit faster. And with that, it wasn't as bad, but I still felt very slow in this game, and I'm not sure why. But ultimately, you are exploring the same world, you are fighting the same enemies outside of the Horriblins, and you are doing a lot of the same shit. I'm trying to keep in my head all the things I want to talk about, and it's kind of tough. Hold on. Map. That looks like mop. Map. Shrines. Quests. Enemies. Oh. Temples. If I think of something else, I'll add it to the list. But yeah, so the map, I just don't have the energy to explore it the same way I did in Breath of the Wild. Because ultimately in Breath of the Wild, you'd climb over a hill and you'd find something new and you'd go and you'd look at it and, no, that's neat. And like, you know, in Breath of the Wild, you can find the ruins of Lon Lon Ranch. And if you've played Ocarina of Time, and if you remember Lon Lon Ranch, you look at it and you go, oh, shit, look at that. And when you look at the map and you look through all the little named areas, you look at that and you go, oh, I know that one. And I know that one. And I know that one. It's the fucking thing I recognize, Pog! But, like, it was the fact that they had such a big world, and they put in that much attention to detail. To name so much shit, and to put in these little things that connect to it. Like Spectacle Rock being in the Gerudo Highlands. That's kind of neat. Oh, I'm sure you are, right? I'm sure you do. And, like, there was a lot of cool stuff to see that first time through. But I think when you come back to it, it doesn't even have the kind of comfortable nostalgia of, let me go to these places I remember. Because they're not the places you remember, they've changed them. But only slightly. And I watched an entire video about how a place called Shrine Island doesn't have a shrine. And that's just coming into my head now, and it's funny to me. But, like, I think the best example I can think of is Eventide Island. Eventide Island, Eventide, I don't know, in Breath of the Wild was a neat challenge where you go to the edge of the map, you manage to make your way there, either through gliding with enough stamina, either through making a little boat and getting there with a Korok leaf, either through Cryonis and taking 20 fucking minutes to jump across the ocean. You got there how you liked. And you get to the island, and the game tells you, you can't take any of the shit you brought to this island in this challenge. You have to start fresh. You have to use what's on the island to your advantage in order to solve this puzzle. And that's really interesting. Because when the player's been playing long enough, they get comfortable, they get used to what they have, and so taking it away from the player can be an interesting way to force them to start thinking about things again. You're not gonna look at the fucking mushroom on the side of the road and go, I've got 50 of those, I don't need that. You pick it up because you don't have any anymore, and you need some healing. And I want to say you had to, like, get 3 balls and throw them onto a thing, and then the shrine appeared. And that was cool, it was neat. Eventide Island, in Tears of the Kingdom, is fight 3 sets of enemies, and then fight a 4th set of enemies, and it's raining, and I think you get a Lionel horn for it. And there's some pirates. There's a pirate ship. Wow. Look at that. And then you go underground and it's a coliseum made entirely of goblins. And that's the problem. There's just so much shit that just isn't enough. And it's such a shame. I do think the Dragon Tears are neat. You get the story through these really noticeable things that are on the map that you can just look at and like, hey, look, there's a big thing there. I'll leave a note for that. Meanwhile, Breath of the Wild, the way you got the memories, the way you got the story, was, here's a picture of a location. At best, you might be able to tell what region it's in. At worst, it's one of 5 different forest areas. Go find him. Now, ultimately, that story was 100 years ago, and, like, it's not super important to the plot, and I think Tears of the Kingdom is probably the same way, where you get enough from the required... Well, not quote-unquote required, because you can just go fight Ganon or whatever. From, like, the main quest memories that you probably can piece together the story yourself, but getting that extra shit filling it in is pretty handy. It's kind of nice. Otherwise, shit like the... Is it the ancient tablets in the sky? Yeah, the little star islands with the ancient tablets. I don't give a single shit about those. And the problem with it is, if I remember correctly, because I looked this up, because I wanted to make sure that if I was going to do it, it was going to have some good reward for it. There's like fucking 12 of these. Is it 12? There's 12 of them. They are all over the sky, and getting to them is kind of a pain in the dick. Your reward is 100 rupees for each one of them, and then once you finish them, you get a fabric for your paraglider, So when you're gliding around, you can look at a slightly different texture. Oh boy. And maybe there's a bit of story on the tablets. I have no idea. I'm not fucking... I'm not doing that. What the fuck? Okay. This has the text for the first tablet? The text is really fucked up. Once held why honor als Hawkmaid to King Brauru and Queen Sonia, thereafter to his suster on to Princess Zelda. Her on this great stand on 12th Mo withal make en dite min time with the royal family. So mict cure remembrance preserven for the sake of for him on whom our hope rest. Okay. It also does not list the text for any of the other ones, so I don't care. Like the... I don't know, I think a lot of it is just fatigue through exploring the map over again, which is why I was fine to run around the underground for as much as I did. Because it didn't really fucking matter. Okay, I've broken the map. Lovely. How have I done this? Yeah, like, it's too much of the same. Not enough has changed, and what has changed just isn't. It doesn't matter. Shrines! Oh boy. So I mentioned before, I think it's 152 shrines? Yeah, 152 shrines, which I think I read somewhere that, like, you can get 38 hearts and full stamina wheels, or 40 hearts and then, like, slightly less stamina, something like that. So the fact that they still don't let you fill everything out drives me fucking nuts. But the shrines feel like a fucking joke in this. And I've not gone through all of them, and I'm not going to go through all of them. But the few that I have gone through are fucking offensive. Because they still kept all of the shrines that were just, hey, you did the shrine quest. Here's a chest. Here's an orb. Good job, champ. I'm so proud of you. Get the fuck out. And, like, especially with a game like Breath of the Wild, where exploring is the gameplay, where you run around and look for stuff to find stuff. You know, it's... the reward for running around is that you have looked at a new thing. So why is it that my reward for finding a shrine is nothing? There's no gameplay. Give me something. Give me a puzzle. Give me something to sink my teeth into for even just a minute. But even then, some of the shrine puzzles are fucking offensive. Pick up this ball, put it on a ledge, use it to get across. Pick up this second ball, attach it to the first one. Set those down, use them to get across. Pick up the two balls, add a third, put it down, use it to get across. That is a shrine puzzle. The mechanic of pick up and attach things is a shrine puzzle. Meanwhile, like, that is the basic mechanic of Ultra Hand. Other shrines require you to build a fucking sand boat to get across the shrine by picking things up and attaching them. And yet another shrine's puzzle is to pick things up and attach them. The basic mechanics are not a puzzle. Imagine if you were playing a puzzle game and the solution to a puzzle was, look at this spot. Move the camera to look at this spot. It's a fucking tutorial disguised as gameplay. I hate it. Did you know balls roll? Make them not roll. Wow. Amazing. And so, of the shrines that I have done, they feel like a step down from Breath of the Wild, and people already complained about Breath of the Wild's shrines not being capable of going into any actual depth. And it is insane to me that they have doubled down on that. But even worse, getting to the shrines themselves from what I have experienced, has been dumbed down as well. Because rather than things like Breath of the Wild, where, like, I think the best example I can think of is the Warbler's Nest, the Warbler's Rock, something like that, in Breath of the Wild, where you had to find the 5 sisters, you had to get them all over to the thing by doing a little task for them, and then you had to play the song they knew, and that they sang for you, by pushing wind through the rocks, and that revealed a shrine. And the game had other shrine quests that weren't as interesting, like pick up this ball, put it in a thing, there's your shrine, bada bing, bada boom. Or even things like, you know, cover this plinth, this... I'm trying to think of the name for it. Little circular thing on the ground. Cover the circular thing on the ground with the shadow of the sun by holding a thing in front of it. That is a unique puzzle that gets you into a shrine through a mechanic that is perhaps not unique to it, but it's something specific. It's a thing to figure out. It's a concept to figure out, and then the player needs to do that concept. It's a thing to figure out, and then do. Tears of the Kingdom's shrines are, go through this cave, bring a crystal to this spot, and both the crystal and the shrine itself will tell you where the other is, so there's no ambiguity. And alternatively, sometimes it's slightly more interesting. This person has a crystal. They won't give it to you until you do X thing. It's still a crystal that tells you exactly where the shrine is. There's nothing unique to the shrine quests anymore, it feels like. And remember, every one of those leads you to a shrine that has no puzzle in it. There's no gameplay in it. Fuck. And, like, part of me thinks that the reason they are more boring in this game is because the depths have the light roots tied to the surface. So you end up with situations where you find a light root in the underground, you mark its spot on the surface, you go to the surface, and if you find nothing, you're going to be very fucking confused. For example, if you had a light root that pointed at Warbler's Rock, you wouldn't know what the fuck to do, because there's no explanation. There's nothing there, there's no hints towards the shrine itself. And so it feels like they attached the light roots to the surface shrines and then said, oh shit, we need to give the player a way to find this shrine. And so between the shrine sensor and the crystals, they solved that by dumbing it down massively. And it's so strange to me that they did that, because there's also times where you will find a light root, mark the surface, go to the spot, and to get to the shrine itself, because it's underground inside a cave, you have to go like 100 fucking yards down the way to find the entrance to the cave, and then that cave is a labyrinthine weaving back towards where the shrine actually is. So there's still shrines that take a bit of effort to get to, but they're in a cave. And, like, they still manage a decent bit of gameplay sometimes with the crystals. Like, there was one... I think it was over here. Near the bird place. There was, like, a hole in the ground that I had to blow open. And then I go down there, and the crystal's down in the hole. So it's a problem of how do you get the rock out of the hole? And the sort of open design of... That's another thing to fucking write down. Zonai parts. The open-ended nature of the Zonai parts makes it really interesting. Oh, Jesus. Because you have a variety of ways to solve it. Do you want to just build a fucking ramp out of whatever bits you have? Go for it. Get the rock out of the hole. You want to attach a rocket to it? Go for it. Get the rock out of the hole. You want to use the floating platforms to just, like, ferry it up? Go for it. You want to use a hot air balloon? Go for it. However you want to do it, if you can figure out a way to do it, it will work. And I do think that is probably the best part of this game, is anything with an open-ended solution becomes potentially more satisfying to solve, but also potentially very unsatisfying to solve if you think of a stupid solution. And sometimes it also means the intended solution can get lost in translation. But ultimately, the shrines are the very worst of Breath of the Wild's shrines, and not much that's been improved. The combat shrines are slightly better. I'll give them that. Breath of the Wild's combat shrines were a joke because with a little amount of gameplay, you'd hit a point where even the toughest combat shrines weren't that difficult to beat. And then every time you found a minor test of combat, it was a waste of your fucking time. There was no point in doing them. But you had to get your orb. The combat shrines in Tears of the Kingdom, at the very least, are tied around a specific idea. Bait enemies into traps. Fight enemies with just some starting gear. This room is completely dark. Fight enemies in the dark. There is at least a better concept beyond fight the same enemy of the same difficulty like 12 times. That's about the only improvement I can think of. As for quests, kind of touched on it. Shrine quests are shit. Regular quests, not much better. Ultimately, they've made the rewards for quests perhaps slightly more interesting, because now you can get things like paraglider fabrics. And that's a neat idea. I like the idea of changing up that little thing that felt so set in stone in Breath of the Wild. Can I find a list of all the side quest rewards? 18 most rewarding side quests from Game Rant. Oh, this ought to be good. Oh shit, this actually does list the fucking rewards. Oh, baller. Okay. Oh, that's glorious. Most rewarding side quests in Tears of the Kingdom. Quest number 1. Reward, Big Hearty Truffle. A thing you will cook once, use once, and then it's gone forever. Okay. Let's see. Fabrics. Upgrades like the Shrine Sensor, Travel Medallion, Hero's Path, Sensor Plus. Money, food, food. The ability to use a clothing shop. Clothing. You fix a village. You make the village free. Clothing. Money. Horse stuff. Money. Food, money. Food, money. Korok shit, which gives you an inventory expansion. Have a good night, Rai. A mask, a new shop. Monster extract. Horse stuff. What quest are these? Side adventures versus side quests. What? Okay. Schema stones, so the shit that you use to build stuff. The Earthwake Technique and the Thunder Helm. The fuck is the Earthwake Technique? Let's see. Fight some enforcers. There's shops, there's secrets, there's Zonai vehicles, challenges, and special rewards. Okay. You can buy their equipment. Dude sells bananas. Vehicle development room. You can buy a vehicle. You can get auto build. Okay, what is Earthquake? You can get a paraglider fabric. The Earthquake Technique. Oh. Special unarmed attack that the Yiga Blade Masters use. If you have no weapons equipped, you can hold the attack button to charge the power-up, sending a fissure out in front of you in a quick line. By releasing the button, you can cause a giant rock explosion when it reaches the target. While it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, it is the one surefire way to deal damage when you need a way to fight unarmed or wish to conserve weapon during melee. I mean, that's neat. Having a new thing added to your arsenal is cool. And the Thunder Helm looks kind of useful. I don't know. But yeah, ultimately, quests in this game suffer from one very specific problem. The rewards are fucking useless. The best rewards in the game are getting the Great Fairies unlocked. Which before, you spent some money. Now it's a side quest. It's a couple side quests. Apparently finding Misko's stuff is quests, so the rewards are clothing? Okay. I'm sure you can just find those normally. Oh, eggs restocked at High Spirits Produce. Oh, baby. But yeah, ultimately your reward is going to boil down to like one new ability. A weapon, some clothing, a material, an ingredient, etc. So the gameplay of the quest ought to be good, or at least interesting enough, that the player is going to feel content having done it. Because the reward you're going to get is not worth it. It's money that you could get by just picking up a bunch of shit and then selling it. It's not that special. Nine times out of 10, what you get from it is going to be a thing that you can get somewhere else, or it's going to be a fabric. So if you want to customize, it's kind of neat. But there really isn't much. And so it's not that they're pointless. It's that unless you really want to be exploring this world again, unless you really want to be trying to do everything you can possibly do, it ain't worth it. It's a very similar problem to what Breath of the Wild had, where just these side quests lead to 50 rupees, 20 rupees, 100 rupees, an ingredient, a thing I don't need, a thing I already have 30 of. So do I want the gameplay? As for enemies, they are all almost fucking identical. They did not bring back any of the gold enemies from Master Mode, which I'm disappointed by. I feel like it'd be funny to have gold enemy parts. But also, there's not that many new enemies. Let me look up a list of the enemies. Zelda.fandom. Nope. Zelda Dungeon. Here we go. Choo-Choos and Keese are identical. Octoroks, I think maybe the chest Octorok? And maybe the rock Octorok might be new. Beyond that, I think they're all the same. The Wizrobes... Fire, Ice, Electric, Mateo, Blizz, and Thunder. I think those were all in the previous game. At the very least, I didn't engage with the fucking Wizrobes. They're not worth fighting. They will give you their staff. Oh boy. Red, blue, black, and silver, and then the skeleton bokoblins. Same with the moblins. The boss bokoblin is new. He's a big chunky guy. How does the health compare? Boss bokoblin has 200 health, a moblin has 62, so he's got like 3-ish times the amount of health. A silver boss bokoblin has 1200 health. A silver moblin has 1080, so they're not that much tankier than a moblin. Horriblins! New enemies! You shoot them in the face and then you beat them up. The Lizalfos, regular, blue, black, skeleton, fire, ice, electric, and then silver. Lynels and Yiga, why are these paired up? You have your silver Lynels, which are the only ones worth fighting. 5,000 health. Yeah, they're what they were in Breath of the Wild. I don't think they were given much new abilities. Everything now has a fucking 4-head swing attack. Yeah, I don't know, they have like one new attack. For the most part, the enemies are as easy to fight as they were before. The Yiga members, they're nothing, you shoot them. Congrats. Peblets are still the same. Likes are new. Likes are back. They don't It says they eat your equipment. I swear I've been eaten and nothing happened. Regular ones, fire ones, ice ones, shock ones, rock ones. For the most part, you hit them with the opposite element, or you just shoot them once they finish their barrage. The constructs, actually new enemies, but ultimately they attack you. Maybe they have some Zonai shit attached to them that they'll use. Ultimately, they're just another swingy enemy. The dragons, you have your usual Dinral, Nadra, Farosh, then the new Light Dragon, which... story implications of that, Evermeans, the trees, Arakudas are new, and they are their own problem. Gibdos are new, Moth Gibdos are new, Froxes are new. For sub-bosses, you have... the Battle Talus, which you just climb up with Send. I guess I could talk about the abilities, too. Taluses beyond that haven't changed much. Hinoxes haven't changed much. The Molduga is the same joke that it was before. If anything, it's a bigger joke. Because before you just throw a bomb off a thing, blow him up, and then beat him to death. Now, you use Sidon's shield to protect yourself after he eats you, and then you bomb arrow him, and then you beat him to death. Flux constructs are a neat new mini-boss, but they don't really evolve at all. I think they all have the same attacks. Gleeox are new. They are cool. I like them. I think they are probably the best new addition. Because they are actually a threat. Frox, I don't much care about, and apparently the blue-white Frox is the best one? Interesting. I thought the Obsidian one was. Phantom again, he's kind of cool, but at the same time... he's got like 3 different movesets, and they're all kind of lame, and you fight them once, then you're done. Oh boy. Bosses I'll talk more about in the temples. Once I get to those, just because... they are... there. But yeah, ultimately the enemies are very much as they were in Breath of the Wild, outside of the new additions. And the new additions, I don't think, are that special. Like, I'm trying to think. The desert got new enemies, and I think that's it. I think as far as area-specific enemies go, that's the only one. It's just the desert. The sky usually has constructs, but those are everywhere. Flux construct can be found above ground and below ground. The Gibdo, I think, are only in the desert area, and only below the desert. And then, like, the castle. And I feel like that's the thing that it's kind of missing. I want unique enemies for each area. Make the areas feel interesting. At the very least, the temple areas. Make those feel interesting. But yeah. Combat is not exactly a strong part of this game. Temples! We can talk about it now. The temples, 9 times out of 10, are fucking depressing. Because old Zelda temples, old Zelda dungeons, were go into the dungeon, explore around a bit, you'll probably see the thing that you need the item for. You get the item, and then you use the item in interesting ways in order to solve the dungeon. You fight the boss is going to use the item, and there you go. They're usually fairly linear with little side paths coming off of them in order to provide little rewards, provide extra challenge. But ultimately, you are doing this dungeon. It has been tailored for you to experience it in this way. And I think people started to get tired of that with the old Zelda games. I still think it's fine because they're very well crafted. They're very focused. They're kind of shit on replay, because you already know what's going to happen, and you ultimately just have to go through the motions. But I think that first time through, they can be really special. They can be pretty interesting. Fun to explore. Here's the Kingdom Temples. If I take a peek at my map here. Fire Temple. Go to 4 different spots, or 5 different spots I think it was. Hit a gong using your teammate power, which the teammate power is supposed to be the replacement for the dungeon item. You have shoot a ball, shoot some water, shoot some lightning, throw some wind out. That's it. The Fire Temple I quite liked because it felt very freeform. The game told me where the locations were, and I just went, okay, I'm gonna fucking get to those. And then I proceeded to ignore everything in the temple besides those things. And I kind of like that. It was kind of freeform. I got to just go straight to there. There was a bunch of minecart tracks and shit. I don't fucking care. I'm climbing. Lightning Temple. I feel like this was the most boring of them all. I will point out I don't remember the Wind Temple at all, because that was so long ago. The Lightning Temple, shine some lights, open some paths, cast some lightning, and it featured my favorite part of the dissonance of the companions. The companions can teleport outside the temple. Why do they lose that ability when I go in the temple? If I can get past a door, why do I need to open that door for them? If they can fucking teleport. There's no reason. So you just end up with really annoying feelings. And I think when I was doing the Lightning Temple, I used the example of Wind Waker. I remember Wind Waker being much better for that. There was a little bit of frustration of like, ah shit, my partner got fucking kidnapped again. I have to go get them. But it made sense when you had to get them past something. When you had an obstacle to solve, it's because you needed to get them past it because they couldn't just fucking teleport. Water Temple. Go to each of the corners. Maybe solve a puzzle. Hit a thing with the water ball. Wow. Wind Temple. I think I vaguely remember that being somewhat interesting with having to figure out how to get into certain parts of the ship. The Wind Temple might have been like the closest to an old Zelda dungeon feel. I'm trying to think back and remember it now. It's not going well. Spirit Temple, I appreciate its briefness because it was literally a fucking boss fight and that's it. But even if you consider the lead up to the temple itself to be part of the temple, I still think it is the best temple in the game. Exploring Thunderhead Isles, which I'm actually going to look it up. Thunderhead Isles. Tears of the Kingdom. Are you supposed to be able to clear out the thing? You are? Okay. Oh. After starting Secret of the Ring Ruins, players should follow its objectives, which will eventually lead them to Dracozu Lake. Here, fans will encounter a riddle that centers around wearing electric garb and offering a Zonai charge to an altar, and the storm on Thunderhead Isles will clear when that riddle is solved. I'd have liked being able to clear, like, sections of it at a time. I think that would have been cooler. The idea of just, like, what a thing. The entire storm is gone. Wow. I think that's kind of lame. But, like, exploring the Isles during the storm? That was fucking cool. I could barely see shit. I had to navigate carefully. It felt like completely different gameplay to the rest of the game. And I loved it. And then, you get down, you go below, and you start building the construct. And ultimately, I was kind of annoyed that I couldn't do any of the construct stuff early. Like, you go into the place, you explore through it, and just nothing happens. But, like, I don't know. It didn't take that long. It was cool to explore and kind of build up the thing as you go. I think it was handled pretty well. And then the boss fight was an actual boss fight! Holy shit! You can't just fucking cheese the fucker. I'm sure there's a way to, but I don't know it. I couldn't figure it out. Let's see. Seized construct cheese. Oh, it's a confusing boss fight where you have to use the construct to fight in a boxing ring. Is it really confusing? This is by far the worst boss I've ever fought, not because of the boss itself, but because Monero is a fucking nightmare. Okay. Sure. Okay, this person says to use cannons, I think? Smack him with balls. What's the idea for phase 2? Use a cannon. Okay. Yeah, so ultimately, I quite like the Seized Construct for the very simple fact of you have to fight the game. You have to fight the Seized Construct the way you fight it. Bomb arrows don't do shit. The entire room is full of gloom, so you have to stay on the Construct. It set up very specific rules for fighting the Construct, and I liked that. Because every other boss, I didn't have to fight at all. I didn't have to think about them. I didn't have to care about them. They didn't matter. If I scroll down to the boss section of this page, Colgera. Shoot with bomb arrows. Blow the fucker up. And like even the refight with Colgera, it was literally just sit there in slow time, shooting bombs at it until you get to the next phase. Moragia. Fly around, hit it with things. It's not that special. Marbled Goma. I couldn't use bomb arrows. That's kind of an improvement. Kind of. I don't know. I'm sure you're supposed to break its legs off and then climb on top of it. Or you could say fuck climbing its legs and just use ascend. And then you'd smack its eyeball. And then, like, you can't use bombs. Third phase, shoot in the eyeball. I don't know what that fight is supposed to be. And whereas with the open world and with the puzzles, I like having open-ended solutions, I don't like open-ended solutions for the bosses when it boils down to, I'm skipping this fight with bomb arrows. The sludge-like, hit it with water, I think smack it with bombs, that or you just hit its fucking mouth ball. It's a like. I don't think it's a boss. The Muktarok. You at least have to shoot it before you bomb arrow it a bunch, or before you beat the shit out of it with high damage weaponry. Queen Gibdo. I shot it with bomb arrows. Seized Construct. Fucking just keep... It's a good fight. Demon King Ganondorf. It's a dude, you hit the dude. Round 2. It's a dude, you hit the dude. It's the closest you're getting to like a good one-on-one fight with a humanoid enemy, which is what Dark Souls is really good at. So I think the Ganondorf fight is fine. I think it's fine. Demon Dragon, I think it's a really neat spectacle. It's not that interesting as a fight. I think I got hit and took 1 damage, but I think I had 24 armor, so I don't know how much damage he does. Master Koga. He at least has a unique mechanics, even if you can't just bomb arrow him to the fucking moon. He does different things, and then you bomb arrow him. So ultimately, I think a lot of my problems with this game is bomb arrows, which Breath of the Wild solved by not having bomb arrows. Well, no, it had explosive arrows, but they weren't as fucking stupid, I think. They weren't as easy to get. I think that's the big thing. Bombs are everywhere. You can just buy them. For ghosts that are everywhere. So yeah, the temples, and I've mentioned this whilst I was playing the game, but somehow Nintendo managed to make temples so bad that they make me miss the Divine Beasts. And that was everyone's biggest problem with... Well, one of the biggest problems with Breath of the Wild was the Divine Beasts felt too samey. The Divine Beasts all used the Sheikah theme. The bosses were all just a different kind of Ganondorf. But the dungeon exploration itself, I feel like, was way better. Because you had, rather than a dungeon item, you had a unique mechanic for each one. For the camel, because I've learned it's a camel, not a giraffe. I was wrong about that. For the camel, you rotated the center cylinder. For the elephant, you moved where water was being poured. For the lizard, you changed which angle it was at. For the bird, you changed, I think, which angle the bird was at. So, a little bit of overlap, but ultimately, these mechanics are unique enough to where I remember them. And if anything, that's the sign of a good Zelda dungeon. When you go back to Wind Waker, I still remember using the grappling hook to get around the dungeon. I still remember the inside of Dragon Roost Cavern. I still remember fighting the boss and pulling on Valu's tail, and him going like, "Oh yes!" And then you drop a fucking ceiling on top of Goma. I think it was Goma. On top of the big scorpion-looking motherfucker. So, where the Divine Beast lacked in theme and boss uniqueness. They made up for with gameplay. The temples almost had the opposite problem. The boss designs are all unique and different, but I don't have to care about them. The gameplay's not that interesting because it's go here and hit this thing with your partner power. Doesn't matter how you get there. Doesn't matter if you solve the puzzles. And the themes are kind of better. It's Zonai ship in the sky, Zonai water facility in the sky, underground depths thing number 1 and 2, and Zonai temple. I think the lightning temple would have been a Zonai thing. I don't know. But ultimately, it's just kind of meh. Let me put powers, which will kind of tie in with this, and then put weapons down. That'll be what it's talking about. So, Zonai parts, along with Ultra Hand, Auto Build, that kind of thing. I think those are the absolute best new additions to the game, and I'm unfortunately too stupid to do much with any of them. People have made hover bikes, people have made ass-slapping machines, I think it was, that I saw in response to one video. I'd watched a review of Tears of the Kingdom, where a dude at the end made the joke of, slap my little ass. No, seriously, make a machine in Tears of the Kingdom that slaps an ass, send me the video of it. And then I think he, like, pinned the comment with his favorites. It is almost limitless what you can do with it. It's fucking insane. It's fascinating. It's really cool. My solutions boil down to cooking pots, rockets, fans. What else even is there? What else did I use? Yeah. Rockets, cooking pots, control sticks. Maybe a couple springs that I attach to shields. Ultimately, it's like having a bunch of Legos, and you can build whatever you like. And I keep building a rectangle. That's not to say that Legos are bad. I'm bad with Legos. So I do think the Zonai parts and Ultra Hand and Auto Build are some of the coolest parts of the game. And I probably should have built more machines to get around faster. That probably would have made it fun. I would not have a motorbike, but I would have a hover cycle. So I think that's probably the biggest missed opportunity that I failed to take advantage of. What are the other powers again? Ascend is very cool. I don't think it's a replacement for the bird power from Breath of the Wild. I do think it's more convenient, though. And when you can't ascend up, you can climb up. So it's well covered. Camera's not a power. Ultra Hand I've already talked about. Auto Build I've already talked about. Fuse we'll get into. Recall feels like the equivalent of Timesis. Slowesis. What the fuck was it called? Slow time. Freeze in place. But I think it's missing that little bit of it. The cool thing about slow time in Breath of the Wild was you could apply momentum to a thing, and then that thing would gain all of that force at the end of it. That's just completely missing from Tears of the Kingdom, unless I'm missing something. Unless I'm a big old doo-doo head. Cryonis, you have ice arrows. Close enough. Bombs, you have bomb arrows. Magnesis, you have Ultra Hand. For the most part, they have covered a lot of the powers from Breath of the Wild fairly well with the new moveset. And, like, ultimately, I don't really miss slow time much. Recall is fine. It lets you make some unique solutions that you wouldn't otherwise have. And, like, I think the biggest problem with the recall is a lot of puzzles with the recall consist of, hey, this thing's doing a thing, use recall to make it do the opposite thing. There's your puzzle. Good job, champ. You did it. I'm so proud of you. And that is baby's first puzzle. So I think recall enables a bunch of lazy puzzles. Recall itself is not a problem. Fuse. Which I should do that. Fuse! We took the weapon problem from Breath of the Wild and doubled down on it to the point where we give you even shittier versions of the shitty weapons from Breath of the Wild. They break even faster. They break even fucking faster! I don't know who thought that was a good idea. But I hate you. And I wish death upon you. So weapons ultimately keep a lot of the same, I think, effects that were in... I want to find a list of all the weapons. No, that's a challenge scenario. Here's the kingdom weapons. I want to find the weapons. Is there a Zelda dungeon page for this? There's a Zelda wiki page. That might be good enough. Master Sword, 30 damage. It's only 45 against gloom-infested enemies. Am I getting a blood moon? I'm not doing anything. Oh, blood moons. Is it gonna happen? Ultimately, as far as commenting on gameplay, since blood moons are coming up now, they fulfill the same purpose they did before. It's nice to have a reset of the world so that you can fight certain enemies again, especially the way that the new weapon system works. I'll get into that in a second. I do think the system is a little bugged, but that might just be a reusings thing. Yeah, I don't know. Blood moons ultimately fulfill a lot of the same purpose. So, the Master Sword only does 45 against gloom-infested enemies. Base durability of 40. It has infinite durability against Ganondorf. Neat. Boomerangs return to you. That's nothing special. Let's see. Quicker charge attacks. Powerful attacks when you're down to their last heart. Extra flurry rush power during perfect dodge. Bursting materials attached to the tip can be reused again and again. A lot of weapons have unique little effects that are kind of interesting. And there's a system by which you can break a weapon and then get a better version of it down below. Ultimately, a lot of the weapons are absolute shit. Because when you look through the weapon attacks, when you look at the highest damage ones, the Gloom Club at 50, Gloom Sword at 41, Gloom Spear at 40, those all hit actually pretty fairly fucking hard. And as long as you're above ground, the Gloom doesn't matter that much. So you can throw a part on, and you get some actually pretty solid damage. I want to say... Let me see just how much you'd get off of a Lionel Saber. Fuck, wrong button. Off a Lionel Saber... 55. So with a club, you'd have 50 damage plus 55, 105 damage. And that's actually some pretty solid damage. That's gonna beat some ass. The Royal Guard's Claymore. Massive destructive power just before breaks, base power of 39. You throw plus 10 on there, 49. That doubles to, I think it was 98, and then you throw 55 on top of that. That is the highest, like, base damage I think you hit in the game. Fierce Deity Sword, 38. Boulder Breaker, 38, which was Daruk's weapon. Bigoron Sword, 36, which you get through Amiibos. Royal Claymores hit 34, which would probably be a pretty decent weapon. Durability of 40, so it's the Master Sword, effectively. Royal Guard's Claymore, by comparison, have a durability of 12. But ultimately, the best source of damage that you're going to get is something that increases the power of it. The Knight's stuff increases the damage when you're down to your last heart, but that's a dangerous situation to be in unless you have fairies, so you're probably not going to use that. The Zora stuff increases your power when you're wet, so if it's raining, perfect. But it's too specific of a situation. The Gerudo stuff has lower durability. They have durability of 14 by default. I think all of them do. Gerudo Scimitar, 17 damage. Gerudo Spear. Gerudo Spear has 20 durability, which surprises me because I like the Spear the most. You don't get as much durability from putting a item fused onto it, but you get double attack. And so I think those abilities result in a system where if you want to have weapons that feel powerful, that feel useful, you have to just use very specific weapons that are not necessarily the most powerful because of their attack power, but because of their effect. I can throw a Lionel Saberhorn onto anything and get a fairly powerful weapon. I can only throw it onto a Gerudo weapon to get the most powerful weapon. And so, using anything else, fusing those parts to it, feels like a waste otherwise. And alongside that, enemies drop weapon parts, which makes fighting specific enemies very valuable. Fighting Lionels, specifically Silver Lionels, only thing you ever need to care about. I have 25 Silver Bokoblin horns. I've not had to give a single shit about Silver Bokoblins, because I have Lionels, because Blood Moons reset Lionels, and you can get a weapon that works really well at killing Lionels to the point where with the right buffs, you can kill a Silver Lionel in one set of back attacks. That's how powerful it gets. A 3-star attack buff, the Radiant set fully upgraded, a Mulgara Jaw on a Royal Guards Claymore that's about to break, you suffer no durability loss, you can 6-hit a Lionel on the back and lose no durability. One of the toughest enemies in the game, reduced to shoot him in the face, which if you glide over to it, is not a challenge. So, the absolute peaks of the weapon system, to me, ruin it. Absolutely ruin the weapon system. Because where before in Breath of the Wild, I could have an inventory full of powerful equipment, and that equipment would break, and then I'd pick up new ones. My equipment still felt powerful. I could still consistently have strong-feeling tools on me. Whether they were spears, whether they were greatswords, whether they were regular swords, it didn't matter. Tears of the Kingdom feels like it forces me into using very specific gear, and once that gear breaks, I don't just pick up whatever's around me, I go and I get more of the good stuff. It feels like it imposes a grind upon me that Breath of the Wild didn't have. Oh no, I picked up a sword that did 30 damage. Or 20 damage or something in Breath of the Wild. I'll use that and break it on this enemy who's holding a better weapon, and now my stuff is back being better. If I farm out Lionels, I can get really good Lionel bows, and I can consistently have a strong set of Lionel bows on me. Even then, once one of those breaks, I can still pick up a decent bow and use it to mostly the same effect. And that's fine. That's good. Shields. They all block the same. It's basically just durability. So shields don't really change much. What else? Weapons, fusing, monster parts. But yeah, like, the elemental fusions, ice feels like the only useful one because it, I think, doubles the damage of the hit, which, combined with some powerful weapons, leads to fucking stupid damage. Which I would go test, but I also do not care. I really don't. The food system is still as bad as ever. At the end of the game, how many full heals did I have on me? 5, 10, 15, 18, and I wasn't even really looking for them. 18 complete heals. I probably had about 30 over the course of the full game. I still genuinely feel like hearty items should not full recover. They should do the same thing the stamina does. Because I'm pretty sure, and I'll even go and find the materials that do it. Was it the carrots? What did it? You restore stamina. You restore that. Fuck, I never actually used it because I didn't care about it. But now I need to find it. There was a thing that gave you... Increase your max stamina. Okay, tireless frogs. I'm gonna go cook a dish with this. An elixir. Throw 3 of those in, throw probably Lionel bits in. Do I have Lionel guts? I should. An enduring elixir. 10 hearts, which that even feels like a lot, considering I put in 3 frogs. And additional stamina that extends the stamina wheel. If I sprint around a little bit, and I use up some of that stamina. I'm completely wrong. It refills your stamina completely. Restores stamina and temporarily extends your stamina wheel. I swear that's not how it worked in Breath of the Wild. Anyways, the way that I feel it should work is you make your party food. You get the extra hearts, and however much that item would heal normally. It does not fully recover you. So you can make very healing foods that give you some extra hearts, but it does not completely refill it. You cannot go from 1 heart to fucking 40 off of a single healing item, made off of a single ingredient. Because that shit is fucking bonkers. Other than that, food items are basically the same. You can make speed up stuff, you can make swim speed up stuff, you can make stealth up. There's slip resistance, which is kind of a neat effect, but you need an awful lot of it for it to actually matter. Hot weather attack is kind of neat. I don't know. I'd sooner just use attack up rather than weather-based attack buffs, because I don't think they stack. Yeah, like the food system is ultimately nearly the same. There's some new ingredients, there's some new effects. That's about it. Materials, I don't really have much to say. Oh my god, the eyeballs are so much worse than I thought. I thought it was just the Aracuda eyeballs that did it. No, it's all of them. It's all of them. How many homing arrows could I fire? 86, 95, 120, 150, 152, 162 shots, which if you use a 5 times bow, 32 damage. 162, I think I said. Times 5, 500 something arrows with homing. My god. Like, I think the parts can lead to some really interesting stuff. You can have really high damage arrow shots if you want. You can have longer firing arrows, which means it's not tied to bows anymore. You can have homing arrows, which is a neat concept, but causes some fucking problems. Octoballoons are still kind of neat. Fusing the gems to have them do elemental effects could be useful. I have no idea. I didn't care about it. Ultimately, elemental effects, I'd sooner use, like, a Lizalfos Horn to make, and even then, I'd sooner just use the Ice Breath one. Because then I can get a freezing weapon that has plus 15 damage on it. And that's a pretty decent chunk of damage. Outfits, I think, suffer all the same problems that they did in Breath of the Wild. Mostly that upgrading a lot of armor is going to be very costly. But also, changing armor is not fun. Having to go from, say, night speed up at night, to your climbing gear whenever you climb, to your cold gear if you enter a cold region, to your hot gear, to your sand boots, your ice boots, or snow boots, your stealth up, your glow, your gloom resistance if you go below the ground, your gliding stuff when you start going into the sky. I don't know how you fix this system, but I feel like the solution is to not leave it as it is. I almost wish that when you get armor, and you upgrade to a certain point, you get, like, a new passive effect that is not as powerful. So maybe you get, at night, you go, like, 5% faster, but it's constantly on. Maybe you can equip the armor to get the stronger, fuller version of that effect. But having armor have one effect to it feels just so bad, because it ultimately leads to, you're going to swap to your useful armors when you need them, and you're going to swap to your defense armor when you need defense. Anything other than that, you're wasting your fucking time. So, I don't know. I think it's not as good as I want it to be. What else? The companions, I don't know. I don't think their powers are nearly as useful as in Breath of the Wild, but at the same time, that's the point. Their powers are not as impactful, but you can use them more often. And I think comparing them effect for effect, the bird power is more applicable. I think I found it more useful, but damn if I didn't like being able to just go up every once in a while. The lightning power, again, it's more applicable. I think I like the lightning power more. I didn't quite use it as much, but like having lightning available that often is pretty fucking handy. Didn't realize you were still left. Yeah, I've been rambling for like 40 minutes. 40 plus minutes. I finished the game. Kitty, there's an actual ending. Can you believe it? There's an actual final boss. But yeah, water power. The new one's fucking insane. The old one was, oh no, you died. Mifa will heal you. And it was like once a day. So like once every hour, I think. The new one is, did you talk to Sidon? You are invincible. And he's gonna regen it pretty fucking quick. And the best sign of this that I can show is in Breath of the Wild, if you got hit by a Molduga, you didn't get a chance to attack that Molduga, I think. In Tears of the Kingdom, if you have Sidon, you talk to Sidon, you get hit by the Molduga, you then get an opening on the Molduga that kills it. That is ridiculous. Sidon's water shield regenerates in probably less than 10 seconds, and it will nullify a single instance of damage, no matter what that damage is. And it also protects you from heat. So I probably could have just turned it on whilst I was climbing the mountain, and I'd have been fine. Sidon basically being a male wife? Pretty much. He's marrying Yona, but damn if he ain't fucking by my side helping me out. Like, Sidon's power is so insanely broken compared to Mifa's. It's ridiculous. Yonobo's power... Daruk's protection would nullify, I think, 3 hits and give you an opening. Yonobo's power is you shoot a ball at somebody. He's basically a bomb. Daruk's protection is fucking clears it. I have bomb arrows, and I can get an infinite number of bomb arrows. Because I ended the game with 700 regular arrows, and something like 100 bombs, and I could have bought, I think, 30 more from the statues? With the number of ghosts that I picked up? Kind of ridiculous, I gotta say. All in all, tallying all of that up and reducing it all to a single number, go fuck yourself, I can't do that. Basically, Tears of the Kingdom's gameplay is Breath of the Wild with all of the worst parts of it exemplified, and all of the things that needed fixing, having band-aid solutions that lead to further problems, and the best of it is still just exploring a very well-crafted world that I've already been through before. So it doesn't quite hit the same. Ultimately, I still enjoyed a lot of the gameplay of it, I still enjoyed exploring, I still enjoyed certain things, but it leaves so much to be desired. Music, it's still Zelda music, it's still fantastic, it's lovely orchestral renditions. The ending cutscenes of the game, the ending fights, all of that. As much as I complain about this game, as much as I nitpick and get annoyed by the little things, I was still getting chills. Nintendo still knows what they're doing. They still can build the atmosphere, they can still set a mood, they can still make me fucking feel something. And give me chills, raise the fucking hairs on my arms. They still have that ability to just inspire feelings in people like these games did when I was a kid. Wind Waker was a fucking insane adventure to me as a child. And I am a much older and much more cynical human being now, but this game is still a ridiculous adventure. And that is fantastic. So the music, I don't know, 9 out of 10. I'm not a music person. I can barely remember any of the music. I would hear the little motifs, I'd hear Zelda's theme, I'd hear the Legend of Zelda theme. Zelda's Lullaby, that's it. You'd have, like, the different race themes. And it tickles that little bit of my brain that still believes in adventure. It's great. Lengthwise, I think the hard thing with saying lengthwise for something like this is very much... It's very much in the player's control. You start Breath of the Wild, you can go straight to fucking Ganondorf. You'll have to fight 4 bosses, and then a 5th boss. And then a 6th boss that's a cutscene, but, you know, you got a lot of shit to fight, and you'll probably have fairly basic equipment. This game, you can go straight to Ganondorf, or to Ganondorf if you want. And you'll fight 4 bosses, and then a 5th boss, and then that 5th boss for a 2nd phase, and then I think he might power up again. And then you fight the dragon. And, you know, you could finish the game in, I don't know, 30 minutes if you want. Or, much like Breath of the Wild, you could spend 250 hours exploring this world. You could do every side quest, every shrine, every light route, you could explore every surface island. You could fight every mini-boss. You could delete every Gleeok, Lynel, Talus, Hinox, fucking, what else is there? Like Frox. You could wipe all of them off the map. You could open every chest, you could explore every cave, you could find every bubble frog. You could spend 400 hours with this game if you enjoy it enough. And because none of it's technically necessary, you don't want to do a temple? Don't do the temple. You don't want to fight that boss? Don't fight that boss. I mean, you're going to have to later when you go to the final boss. You don't want to do these side quests? Don't do these side quests. You don't want to do the shrines? Don't do the shrines. So I think they have managed to figure out a system where, for all its flaws, they have made basically everything except the final boss optional. And that's fantastic. Players get to figure out how much they want to do. I just realized another thing I want to complain about. Back to gameplay for a fucking second. We're going back over here, boys. Towers. Fucking towers. People complain so much about Ubisoft towers. Because all they are is you go to the thing, you climb the thing, you get the map. Breath of the Wild did towers perfectly. Because in much the same way that the world of Breath of the Wild is filled with little landmarks where you look at it and you go, oh, what's that? I want to explore that. Seeing the dueling peaks and going, I want to climb that fucking mountain. That was big. Seeing the towers and going, hey, I can go fill out my map. And then you go to it. And yes, you do climb it. You do climb the tower. You do the Ubisoft thing. You see the tower, you go to the tower, you climb the tower, you get the map. But what Breath of the Wild did perfectly was that each tower was a puzzle and an opportunity for gameplay. Nintendo put a unique scenario around each tower to where you get to the tower and you have to solve reaching the tower. The very first one, press a button, you're at the top of the tower. The next few, maybe it's in the middle of a lake. So you have to either swim across it while still having enough stamina, you have to glide to it, and, you know, have enough stamina to climb it. Some of them were surrounded by spikes. Some of them were in a bottomless pit, so you had to figure out a way to get to it from a high enough vantage point. The point is, towers in Breath of the Wild used the tower being a thing players are going to go to give them a unique experience. Towers in Tears of the Kingdom took the towers from Breath of the Wild, threw them in the fucking dumpster, and said, we're Ubisoft towers now, baby. Because if I can find a list of all the towers. Skyview Towers locations and guide. Here we go. Let's see. First one's activated as part of the main storyline. One of them looks like it's next to an enemy camp, so you fight some enemies. Yeah. This one also in a Hyrule Field Skyview Tower. Hold on. Hold on, are you... What? Oh, how to activate the tower. Okay, I see how they're arranging this. So yeah, one's in an enemy camp. One's on the top of a rock. In some water. Like, ultimately, Tears of the Kingdom towers are at best the same, at worst, worse. The Zora Tower was use a splash fruit. Splash fruit are directly next to the tower. One of them was go into the cave beneath the tower. I've told you where the cave is, and descend into it. Two of them were like that, I think. One of them was climb to the top of it. There's a couple enemies, which that one was probably the most unique one. The Rossbro Pass, the bird area. This tower has no puzzle to solve. You can walk right up to it and activate it. It's surrounded by thorns. Thorns is the best you got. One of them was, One of them was it's raining, so you can't set the thorns on fire, so you have to find a way to cover them to set them on fire. Gee whiz. I'm setting thorns on fire again. That was one of them in Breath of the Wild. Ultimately, the towers are, like I said, at best, the same as Breath of the Wild. At worst, they're the same thing again. They are go into the cave, climb up into it. They are burn some scrubs. Like, I'm not being presented with an interesting scenario that I have to figure out. So they're just worse. I do think them being a way to access the sky is really nice because it ties together the ground and the sky, and it gives you a way to access things if you don't have shrines in the sky. There you go. Jank. Oh yeah, one more gameplay thing. Nintendo needs to not be afraid of allowing players to fail. So many of the fucking sand-based shrines were just like, here's a thing of sand that pushes you away. You have stamina, you can sprint through it. It's not gonna push you away enough. You don't get sucked down into it. It's not a bottomless pit. It's not a problem to cross. It is, do you want to do this slow or fast? Yeah. Jank. Ultra Hand and Auto Build for all of their amazing bits, there's a bit of jank to go with it. Auto Build will sometimes just cancel for no reason, despite all the parts being there. Auto Build has blown me up because it moved a time bomb and it made contact with another item, and that set off the bomb. Thanks, fucker. Ultra Hand will sometimes attach things to the wrong spot. Trying to separate things with Ultra Hand can be a bit of a pain because sometimes you need to separate a central bit, but that takes everything else off of it as well. I think just waggling the stick to separate things is kind of shit. I feel like I'd sooner just click the stick in. I don't know. And even some of the ways the systems interact is kind of weird. Rockets sometimes just will not work depending on how you've attached them. Cooking pots are a weird solution to basically everything. They somehow manage to be suspensions. They somehow manage to be platforms to launch off of. Gliders don't slide off of the ground when given movement. So like putting fans on gliders and then having the glider on the ground does not give you liftoff. You have to attach a cart to it because carts slide but gliders don't. So I don't know why we don't just make gliders slide, but then you don't need carts. Or you can put wheels on it. Or you can just sit it on top of a cooking pot. Like, I don't know. The rules of the system are a bit confusing sometimes, but I don't know if that's necessarily jank or just the system being weirdly designed. I'm gonna call it jank. I had that Blood Moon jank where I managed to summon Blood Moons constantly for like 5 minutes by just jumping off a Sky Island. I don't know, there was some jank. But I think when you make a system as complicated as this game contains, you're gonna end up with some kinds of jank. DLC, did this thing even have extra stuff added in its updates? I don't even know. Tears of the Kingdom, patch updates. Fixes. Duplication bug and frozen meat glitch have been fixed. What? Oh. I think all of the even newer updates were just stuff for Switch 2. 1.1.2, audio fixes, duplication bug. Version 1.1.1. Fixes 1.1.0. Fixes. Yeah, like what were the newest versions? Fixes. Language fixes. Added support for Nintendo Switch 2 edition. Yeah, more fixes. There's been no new content. They did not release any DLC for the game. It's... yeah. Some quests got fixed, and Nintendo patched all the fun out of the game, because you can't duplicate shit. Thanks, Nintendo. Which, I think part of that is also ties into the fact that just if you could duplicate Lionel Saberhorns, you would never need any other item in the game again. If you could duplicate bombs, you'd have no need to pick up pose unless you want to get specific outfits. If you could duplicate Mulgara Jaws, you'd have infinite damage with the Radiant set. If you could duplicate Star Shards, you could have infinite money. And it would mean that the equipment upgrade systems don't really matter because at the end of the day, you have all of the materials you need instantly, so you can completely break every system. Ultimately, I think that duplication bugs should be difficult enough to perform that no human being is going to run into them on their first playthrough. I do not think that you should be removing fun from a video game through updates. Let people have their fun. Let people break your shit. But also the Japanese have a very specific mindset of, like, you know, how dare you break my game? How dare you fuck with the thing that I've created? You should enjoy it in the exact way that I want you to. At least I've heard things like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just being racist or stereotypical. Who knows? Nobody cares. But yeah, DLC, Tears of the Kingdom out of 10. I don't fucking know. All in all, I think that Tears of the Kingdom succeeds where Breath of the Wild fails, and fails where Breath of the Wild succeeded. I think that ultimately, the two games are very similar to the point where I almost feel like I'd enjoy Tears of the Kingdom more if I hadn't played Breath of the Wild. And part of my lack of enjoyment with Tears of the Kingdom is because I played Breath of the Wild. And the new stuff doesn't justify all the same things again. They solved some problems, they fucked up some other things. Yeah. So ultimately, I think, out of 10, I give it Breath of the Wild out of 10. Because whatever I said for Breath of the Wild, that's what I feel about this. It is a 7 out of 10, I think I said for Breath of the Wild, that you could potentially put 300 fucking hours into, and you could have an absolute blast doing it. But I think it is very flawed. I think it has a lot of problems, and the path Nintendo's on, I don't think they're going to fix any of those problems. I'm curious to see what the next games do, but if it's still the same Hyrule again, I'd touch it. I don't think I'd want to play it. They'd have to massively shake things up for the same map to be interesting again. I think they already tried to massively shake up Breath of the Wild's Hyrule, and I think it just wasn't enough. But all the little things like them making the path to Ganondorf genuinely creepy, I like that. I feel like that's a good sign. Them having an actual fucking ending in this game, I like that. It's a good sign. I'm curious where they go for it now, because Calamity Ganon seems to have removed any possibility of Ganon coming back, and the Demon King Ganondorf seemingly is gone for good, so I'm curious who the villain's going to be of the next one. I look forward to finding out in 7 years. And ultimately, I think that will about do it for me for today. I'm getting kind of hungry. I'll probably have some food before I head to bed, and then tomorrow I have my appointment at the workplace, so I'm gonna figure out what's happening with that, which will mean streams will be a little shorter, I think. I think I'll still try to, even once I get a proper job, I'll still try to stream regularly, but I won't be streaming until 2 in the fucking morning, because I'll have to be up for 8 o'clock and going into a place. Yeah, so streams hopefully more often, potentially. Maybe daily, maybe not. And not quite as long, but I'm still going to be doing this. And you have a good night. And everyone else, thank you for stopping by. Have a good one. I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye!